up, everybody? Welcome to Panthers Postgame Live, presented by Lenovo. I'm your host, Taylor Davis, joined by Mike Tolbert and Kevin Donnelly. Unfortunately, the Carolina Panthers fall today in Bank of America Stadium to the Washington Redskins, 29-21. Guys, 4 consecutive losses for this Panthers team. This one comes at home against a Redskins team that had just 2 wins on the season. I feel like I've asked you guys this the past few weeks, but what was lacking from the Panthers today?
Well, I think you see it throughout the season. Like Kevin said earlier, it's been a microcosm of our season. We've played well enough in the first half, but you played well enough just to get beat. You know, things are not going the Panthers' way, and you obviously have to take a sit back and look at, you know, what is not being handled the right way. You know, the defense is not stepping up in the run game. You know, the offensive line is not protecting. Even though they've had some issues, things has to get corrected.
Yeah, this really, for this one here, if you want to dial it in, it really, I think, falls on the offensive line, defensive line. Running for almost 250 yards against the Panthers. We know the run defense has been weak, but that is just exceptionally large amount. And then on the offensive side, giving up 7 sacks. Kyle was under duress a lot of the day. Really, besides the first 2 drives, that was it for the Panthers offense. And a lot of that, like I said, has to do with the offensive line not being able to keep the quarterback protected and getting out of 3rd and long situations. It was a problem from the second quarter on with these 3rd and longs.
A very fast start, great execution in that first quarter, and then just kind of fizzled out. That O-line was without Greg Little and Greg Van Roten, so some issues there on that line. We're going to break all of it down for you. But first, let's send it back out to the field, check in with Bill Voth and Caroline Can.
Well, Taylor, Caroline, there's just something about this part of the field right here. 5 and inside.
It's
That's been the Panthers' bugaboo this season. Now the 4th time where they've driven inside the 5-yard line late and couldn't get it done.
It is, and it's not just this play, though. I mean, you look at all of those games that they're in that arm's length away from the goal line, and it's really an entire game. In this game in particular, it was 14 points off to a really hot start in that first quarter, and then that was it. They couldn't ever get back into this ball game. The sideline was frustrated, and the Redskins, I don't know if we've ever seen this Redskins team on film up to this point in the season that they proved that they got talented players.
Yeah, struggle for the offense after those first 2 drives, but then a real struggle for the Panthers defense stopping the run. We saw it all year, but this year, or today especially, was very disappointing from a Panthers perspective. Redskins rushed for about 250 yards, their most since the 2012 season finale.
Yeah, I remember you tweeted out during the game, and I reported on the radio that 220, that was the most since week 2 of 2017 that this Redskins team have put together. Not what you want for this Panthers team, that if they were even going to think about the playoffs, they had to take care of these last games, and now they've shot themselves in the foot a little bit here.
5-7 with 4 to go. Not looking good. Guys, back to you.
Thank you, guys. Like they said, some of these Redskins players came out and played their best game today. We said the same thing about the Falcons a few weeks ago, though. Teams should not be able to come into our house and play their best game. What is allowing them to do that?
Well, I think the teams are coming in with the confidence, knowing that other teams that has been in the same situations as the Redskins or the Falcons, knowing that they can come in here and get a victory. So they're coming in and playing their best game.
Yeah, and I don't know if these guys didn't just take their foot off the gas a little bit after a 14-point lead, because it looked like everything going the Panthers' way, as Caroline mentioned. But this game turned quickly on a Kyle Allen interception, then things started steamrolling. And you get that little positive momentum. The Redskins got nothing to lose. They started playing really well and executing what they needed to do and got the win.
Nothing to lose and a lot to gain, and that is how they played. Certainly a disappointing result. So let's hear from head coach Ron Rivera in the press conference room now.
Second and long, and against an aggressive play caller, guys going to blitz a lot. You can't do that to yourself.
Ron, that last goal line series, can you take us through what you saw specifically on the last 2 downs? It appeared McCaffrey might have been open on 3rd down and Jarius into the right.
Oh, and the routes and stuff like that? I couldn't tell you specifically. I do know, what we were trying to do is we were trying to give him options on either side on both of those calls.
Ron, you've addressed it before, but just the goal line offense all year just been a little frustrating, even more so today, trying to come back like you were.
Well, very much so. I mean, again, we do some really good things. We put ourselves in position, and we just miss the opportunities. It's the 4th game where we've been down there and we've had a chance, and that's the hard pill to swallow, obviously.
Ron, is that design related or is that execution related, or is it both?
It's football. It's football. Because remember, there's 11 other guys on the other side that line up too as well.
Ron, last season you guys had quite a few games that were decided by a possession or less. Are you seeing the same problems this year that are contributing to you guys' red zone issues?
No, I wouldn't say that. It's a whole different set of circumstances. You know, we have a different quarterback right now doing different things.
Ron, did you guys get away from Christian in the running game a little bit early, or was it something that Washington was doing that?
Well, you know, again, when you don't have success on first down, you put yourself in second and long. You know, that makes it tough on the play caller. You know, and again, we've got to be able to you know, do a little bit better. We've got to put us in, you know, a better situation on second down.
Kyle was dialed in those first 2 drives. What the rest of the game, what was it, just he was playing behind the
Well, again, when you play behind the sticks, it's tough. You know, they know it. Again, they were very aggressive. They blitzed. They brought pressures. They did some good things.
You mentioned playing behind the sticks. How tough is it to judge Kyle and the offense when, you know, he's not getting the protection that he needs in order to go through those reads?
You know, it's a combination of things. And again, you know, it is hard to judge. But, you know, he did some good things. He gave us some opportunities. He made some good throws. He made some tough throws. So, you know, again, it's frustrating. I get it. I mean, I'm very frustrated. I know the players are very frustrated because they played hard. They gave themselves a chance at the end, and we didn't get it done.
Does it make it that much harder on the defense when the offense isn't able to stay on the field?
Yeah, but still, you know, there's certain times we have to be stout. I mean, it's unfortunate. You know, I thought a couple calls we made, you know, we should have been better, and we weren't, and that's disappointing. And again, it's you know, it's as much as what we're doing as much as what we're trying to do.
Ron, with the way that opponents have been able to rush at times to run against you guys, at times those big chunk yardage gains that seem to be incorrectable at this point, do you anticipate making any changes where that's
concerned? We'll see again. You know, as I said, I'll take a look at the tape, but, you know, this was different. This week was completely different because the players we had out there. We didn't have Dante on the football field. You know, we had a. You know, we brought in McGee and, you know, played a new guy. Gerald wasn't 100%, and that's tough. But, you know, still we have guys I think that are capable of doing some good things. And, you know, if not, we as coaches got to make sure we're giving them every opportunity with the calls that we make.
Have you had a chance to speak to Greg, and can you tell us specifically?
Greg Olson?
Yeah.
Yes, talk to Greg. Greg says he feels much better. So we'll see how he is once he gets out of the protocol, okay? And that's all I'm going to say because he's, as far as right now, he left the game with a concussion. He's in the protocol.
And what was Brian dealing with?
Brian Burns, lower back.
At 5-7 and struggling to make the playoffs, you worried about your future coaching here?
No, I'm not worried about my future. I'm worried about this football team's future. We got a game coming up on Sunday.
Ron, understanding it's the NFL and every given Sunday, but where does this one rank losing to a 2-win team?
Say it again?
Just dropping a game to a team that has struggled all season, and where does that rank among the disappointments this year?
Well, it's disappointing. You lose a football game, it's disappointing. They all rank very high as far as I'm concerned, you know, and you know, we all seem to forget that they may struggle, but again, they're paid just like our players are paid. They go out, they play hard, they give it their best, just like our guys went out and gave it their best, and they fought to the very end. They're all disappointing. Doesn't matter whether you win or lose, how disappointing it can and can't be, how exciting it can and can't be. I just think that, you know, everybody got to understand that these guys are trying. They're doing the best they can. The coaching staff is working their asses off. Okay, and you look at the mix of players that they've had to deal with, the guys they've tried to work with. I think our guys are doing things that they're needing to do to give themselves the best chance to win. Are there some things that we can do differently? Probably. Are there things that we're going to look at and try and correct? Probably. Are there things that we're doing well and we're going to continue to try to do well? Absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, guys, there's two teams out there competing. Those guys competed. They competed their butts off. They tried to win a football game, and it came down to, unfortunately, the last play. Okay, we've had 4 of them like that. That's football. You know, sometimes you get they put the ball on the ground 3 times. We didn't recover one of them. That's hard to take, but that's part of the game. That's, again, you live and die by that, and that's, you know what they say, it's a game of inches. So the truth of the matter is, the inches weren't on our side this time.
Speaking of trying, is that onside kick at the end, was that to bring you back with a chance? Was that just the way you drew it up?
Absolutely. That's exactly what they did. You know, they've been working on that kick all year, and just, you know, they got the opportunity to execute it. The guys have been practicing. They practice it every week. They practice it on Friday. They practice it on Saturday. The kickers work on it constantly. You know, you got to give Chase and And that group of guys, a lot of credit for what they did and gave us that chance, you know. It was executed very well. Mike Pilardi hit a very good ball for us. And J.C. Carter, you know, hustled down, played his lane just like he was supposed to, and the ball bounced about as good as it could bounce. And that gave us the opportunity. You know, at the end of the day, as long as these guys are fighting and competing and giving us their best, I'm satisfied with them because they're giving us their best. They're trying hard. That's the important thing.
On the bright side, it looks simple when you make them. I mean, Joey bouncing back today, good to see.
Yes, it's very good to see. You know, Joey's, again, he's a young guy we're relying on to do something very important. That's kick the ball through the uprights. He did that well, handled his job very nicely, and I'm glad to see him bounce back because he works at it.
You see Kyle Allen sacked 6 times. What do you think of the offensive line without Greg and how they did today?
Well, they struggled, obviously, and again, you know, it's some new pieces in there, and guys are trying to, you know, again, give us their best, and that's all you can ask. And at the end of the day, you know, when these guys walk out of the locker room, I told them to walk out with their heads up because they're trying. It's just not an easy game, and again, you know, it'd be nice to win, obviously, but again, that's like I said, that's just the nature of the game.
Uncharacteristic drops for Christian, and then obviously near the end of the game couldn't get in the goal line again. How much does he take on himself, and how hard is it going to be for a game like this for him?
Well, he'll put it on himself, and because that's who he is. He's a pro, and he feels responsible for anything that he doesn't do well. He'll go on, he'll work on it, and he'll try and get better at it. And you know, as will all those guys. Again, this is an opportunity to learn and grow. A bunch of young guys out there competing and doing the best they can. Again, you really appreciate that.
Brian, in a game like this, how tough was the interception when given the short field, backed up, and then?
Well, you know, that was a tough one. You know, we were trying to throw the dart to DJ, and the timing got thrown off. There was I guess he got run into. The timing was thrown off, and that's why the ball was out in front of him.
You guys had a similar situation, pinning them at the 1 yard line later in the game. Not being able to get off the field quickly there, I think.
Well, that was disappointing. We got out of our gap. I mean, that one you could see, and I saw it from the angle that I had. Again, we've got to play disciplined football.
What would you say was the toughest challenge in you guys being successful as a team today, overall?
What was the toughest challenge? Running the football and stopping the run. That's probably the toughest.
Thanks, Ron.
Not happily.
Ooh.
I mean, as expected, a disappointed head coach after a loss to the Redskins. But I want to go back to what he was saying about goal line offense. And that really has been a struggle for this team throughout the season. Even at the end of the broadcast, they made us revisit some dark times and see instances where that was an issue. The Bucs game earlier in the season, the Packers game a few weeks back. Why has that been so problematic for this offense?
Well, I think it's a mix of things, but the main thing that you have to harp on is the inconsistency of the offensive line.
Yep.
You know, those guys up front haven't been banged up with Trey Turner being banged up or, you know, Dennis Daly, those guys being in and out of the lineup. It creates some confusion because when you have 8, 9, 10 guys in the box, it's hard. You have to know who you have. Yeah. You know, just as we saw today, you saw Taylor Moton get beat across his face, probably because he miscounted the box. You know, things like that happen. And obviously, you need your quarterback to make solid decisions down there. We saw today that he had a couple wide open receivers, but he ended up getting sacked for a 30-yard loss.
I think with the offensive line struggling this year in a lot of different ways because of injuries and some different things, young players having to play, what that really puts into focus is, I think, during the course of a game, when you're going down the field and you got room to operate, you can get away with a lot of things. But when things get really compressed and you're right on the goal line, that's when you really got to fire out and beat some guys across from you and get movement, get a seam, anything for Christian McCaffrey, or give a little bit more time so they can get the ball off. It's so compressed, everything's dialed up and juiced up right then. Right. You know how it is, Mike, and that you better get everything right and everything perfect or you're not going to score. And we're seeing those mistakes really become evident down the goal line throughout the whole season.
Well, that movement on the O-line has certainly had implications on Kyle Allen's gameplay. We saw that today, 7 sacks for the quarterback today. He went 27 of 46 for 278 yards. Guys, what did you think about Kyle Allen's gameplay? Started off strong and then just kind of faded away.
Well, I think the entire football team started off very strong in the first quarter. You look at it, jumped out to a 14-0 lead, and that interception, it just changed the entire landscape of the football game. But, you mean, Kyle, he made some solid throws, some solid decisions early, but we got to maintain that for a full 60 minutes.
Yeah, it feels like this team, the way certain injuries have happened and Kyle Allen having to jump in, this team struggled really to find wins when it's not playing nearly perfect game. No turnovers, keep the sacks to a minimum, run the ball very well, play some solid defense, don't give up too much run. All those things have to go together, and when they don't, it equals a loss for the Panthers right now. No one unit is dominant that can take over a game and help you. The defense can step up when the offense is struggling, and vice versa. And so that makes a tough combination when things start to go bad, like they did after the second quarter for the Panthers. It equals a loss.
Absolutely, and like you mentioned, it's both units. I mean, the defense struggled today as well, especially against the run. 249 yards of run offense for the Redskins today. And guys, coming into this, when they were last in the league for rush touchdowns with just 2 on the season, how'd they pull it off today?
Well, you see, they put a formula together. They knew that they could run. You know, Carolina was 27th in the league in big plays allowed on the ground running game. So they put a formula together. They're going to get their 2 big backs, and Darius Geis and Adrian Peterson, and they're going to go downhill. They're going to run it between the tackles and say, "Come tackle me." And if they get 4 yards, they're trying to get 6 yards the next play. They're just going right at them. And then obviously we couldn't stop it today.
No, it was basically they out-Panthered the Panthers. What they did was took our game plan with trying to run the ball, get to Christian McCaffrey, and keep it third down and medium to short. That's what the Redskins did today with their running game, helped out so that third downs weren't real long for them and gave them opportunities. And then the flip of it with our offensive line, giving up sometimes negative plays or a sack on first or second down. We had so many third and long situations. Those are hard to dig your way out of. So that combination really, like I said, they played Panthers football today against the Panthers, and it worked perfectly.
It also seemed like they had a formula for stopping Christian McCaffrey, or at least forcing this Panthers team to reach out a little bit more with their offensive plan, because we saw Christian a lot more at the beginning, and then it kind of went away, got a little more inconsistent. Why do you think that is?
Well, you look at it, I mean, the Panthers got behind the chains a lot. So you didn't get any production on first down. So now you're in 2nd and 10, 2nd and 11, 2nd and 12, whether it be a sack or anything like that. So now you almost take the ball out of his hands and put the game on Kyle Allen's shoulders. And obviously he proved today that he has to make the right decisions and get the ball in the right people's hands to make a victory.
Yeah, and you know, with this Panthers defense, it struggled against the run all year long. Today, it really catapulted to 250 yards, so really a tough situation for the Panthers. And now it just feels like there's no remedy for this situation. No matter how you try and game plan it up and get some things going, they just can't seem to find a way to stop that run. And that's a bad formula as you're heading into December, these final 4 games. So we'll see if they're able to do it, but you just don't know if that personnel, who's healthy, and this game plan that they dial up with having multiple fronts, transitioning to that 3-4. It's a lot of things in the works that have caused this Panther defense to fail this year.
Becomes pretty challenging to not hit the panic button at this point after 4 consecutive losses. But let's check in with quarterback Kyle Allen, who is in the press conference room now.
Yeah, I just felt like we just kind of took turns making mistakes. You know, the first 2 drives we were really locked in. We knew what we wanted to do, and we were moving the ball down the field. And then, you know, after that, they kind of adjusted to us. They were starting to roll at extra coverages, play a bunch of different stuff, and I just felt like we just kind of kept taking turns making mistakes, and it's unacceptable, man. It was just poor performance all the way through. For us to come out that way in the first 2 drives and play that way the rest of the game is not good.
Did you feel DJ got knocked off his route on the interception?
Yeah, I seen the safety coming down to cover Christian on the flat, so I alerted DJ on the slant, and he ran into DJ and threw it, ended up in the corner's hand. So, I mean, it's tough. I mean, I can get the ball to Christian there, and it's not good to turn the ball over inside your own 5. So I mean, I basically gave him points there.
You had toward the end mounted a furious comeback. What did you see on the last few goal line plays?
Try to run the ball the first couple plays. Try to go quick the first one they got us. Try to run the ball in the second one we got us. Threw that one in the back of the end zone to DJ. The corner made a good play on it. He got underneath it. And the last one, I just didn't see anything open right away. Tried to scramble, make a play, and it's got me. So it's tough, man.
When we see the replay, it looks like Jarius is open, but can you describe to us just in the moment what it's like for you when it's 4th down and you got all those guys coming and you're trying to find a guy open?
You got to find the guy that's open. That's all I get paid to do. I don't know. I'll go back and look at it and see where he was and see what they did, but I mean, if he was open, I got to find him.
Just the idea that you guys have been so close, 1 yard away, on so many of these losses.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. Close. Close doesn't matter.
Got a little bit of a patchwork goal line today. Talk about how you felt with them in front of you today.
Sorry, one more time?
How did you feel your offensive line played for you today?
I felt like they played good for most of the game. I felt like that there was a couple of times where they got through and got sacked, and I think that there was a lot of times where I could have stepped up and hung in the pocket a little longer and made some throws. So, I think it goes both ways. I think I need to hang in there longer, and I think I need to give them more of a chance and step up and stay strong in the pocket and make some throws.
On your rushing touchdown, when did you decide to take off with it, and did you have confidence that you can make it?
Yeah, they're playing man to the right side. They manned all our guys up, and I felt like I had time, so I peeked backside and saw a lane, and everyone was playing super soft and just got out, and I knew I had to make a move on 20 to get in the end zone. So, yep.
Can you just talk about, this is the fourth time this year, inside the goal, goal to goal in the last minute or two, and just not being able to get that touchdown or get the conversion there? And is there a common denominator?
No, I don't think there's a common denominator. I just think that, if there is one, it's just making a play when it matters. They can make all the plays you want, but when you got to make the one that matters, we got to make them. So that's all we got to do.
Oh, you could see the frustration with Kyle Allen. Obviously did not have his best game, and I think kind of fell on the sword a little bit because you look at his stats, obviously he wanted to get better, but all the pressure today, all the hits, the 7 sacks, and countless drops. I counted at least 4 in the game. Mm-hmm. He really had a tough road to hoe with other teammates not really helping him out in this process.
Absolutely. You look at the way that the game played out. He started off really hot. I think it was 8 of 9, 73 yards in the first quarter. Then things just fizzled away. But at the same time, he has to take it in with a grain of salt. He has to know that these guys are not going to play like this day in and day out. Mm-hmm. Christian's not going to drop 2 balls again. Yeah. Things like that. The offensive line, they're going to come together. It may not have been this week, but it may not have been next week. They're going to come together, and he's going to be able to sit in their pocket and make some solid throws.
Well, they have things to work on. They can clean it up. We don't need any more dropped handoffs there either, wasting plays. Those count and are costly at times. Definitely. But let's talk about Kyle Allen, because things were really on a roll through early second quarter, and then we get down pinned in, deep in our own end of the territory here. You can see we're on about the 3-yard line as we draw this thing up, and this is going to be a pass to DJ Moore, who's out here wide. He's going to attempt to come back in here, but this thing gets messed up as we let this play go. You'll be able to see what Kyle's looking at. The protection up front, pretty solid, Mike.
Well, absolutely. Protection is probably the best you're going to see all day. He has a solid wide range of pocket right now to step into any throw that he has that he chooses.
And DJ's right out here right now. He's about to make this in cut. You can't really see it on the film here, but he actually gets bumped because you see Kyle wants to throw to a spot that he thinks DJ's going to be at. We'll let this thing continue on. And he's throwing to that spot, but DJ can't get there in time because he got hung up on this corner. Could have been a pass interference. But then this sets up the interception here. They go on to score and make this a 14-12 game right before the half. A ton of momentum.
Yeah, anytime you give the ball over to the other team, it's going to create a ton of momentum. But at the same time, your defense has to come out and respond. The ball was right here on the 1-yard line by the end of this play. But, things can also be turned around just like it turned around for Washington right here.
Yeah, well, needless to say, this Panther team never gives up. Keep pounding is always in its DNA. So we wanted to dial up the onside kick. When's the last time we had a successful onside kick?
1998.
98?
Yes, sir.
That's old. There's a lot of people not even born yet, right?
I know one's in the studio.
That's right. So we're going to dial this thing up. You're taking a close look at this. Look at this bad boy right here, all right? He's about to kick this thing. It's sideways on the tee. These kickers got a crazy way of onside kick, but for him it works.
Right. But you look at it, this is not even our kicker. This right here, this is Mike Pilardi. This is our punter. But obviously he's done this before. This is not something that you just go out and wing. So as we let it play, you see he places the ball on the tee. And Mike, he just approaches it and he hits this side of the ball where he wants to.
Pause it right there. So you want this thing to travel 10 yards. And you also want to find somewhere where it can dip in, right, and have a little open space for one of our guys tracking down the field. So here it looks like you've got some guys toned in on getting some blocks here and letting someone else handle this. Little confusion. This is perfectly executed by the Panthers.
This is probably the best play that the Panthers put on all day long. You know, but this is what you want. You're looking for that ball somewhere in that 8 to 10 yard range to bounce.
Yep. So pause it right there, because you got certain guys. Their assignment is blocking to keep as many guys out as possible. He has to go attack that thing and get the ball. Just a little hesitant on that. We recovered. Like you said, Mike, probably the best play of the game.
It was done to perfection. You got to give kudos to Coach Chase Blackburn.
Yeah, well, that gave us a chance to get in this game. They couldn't do it when they got down to the goal line. But this defense will get better. This offense will get better. Let's see if we can find out some answers now from Dante Jackson.
Here with Dante Jackson, the CPI voice of the defense. It was a hot start for you guys. You get up 14-0. When did things start to shift for you guys?
When we stopped executing consistently, kind of got away from ourselves and executing on the little things, and we had a lot of runs that just broke loose on us because we just wasn't consistent with what we were doing, and that's really the whole thing of it.
Did you see this Redskins team when you guys were watching film this week, one that can break off 250 rushing yards?
Yeah. I mean, they're physical at the point of attack with their offensive line, and anytime you see that on film, they're itching for a big run game. They're itching. That's what they want to do. Don't want to drop back and throw the ball. They want to get downhill and just run the ball. And we seen that. We seen that. We had a lot of things that we put in and we prepared for, but they just had a dominant day up front, and it helped for the run game.
I know you're on the sidelines watching these situations when the offense is inside the 5. It's multiple times it's happened. How frustrating is it to watch those week after week happen when it's in games like this?
I mean, we have the most confidence in our offense. We don't never like to point fingers because at the end of the day, teammates is all you have in their locker room. So we just riding with those guys, man. We don't really worry about what happened in the past. They get in there. Next week we're gonna be right up in there fighting for them, cheering for them, hoping they get in. So we don't really worry about what happened in the past. We know that's our guys. That what they want to score. So we don't really too much get frustrated about it. We just keep moving.
What now for this team?
Keep pounding.
Easy enough. Thanks, Dante. CPI, voice of the defense.
Thank you.
Thank you, Caroline. Well, guys, before we close this out, I want to look back real quick over the last 5 games. You beat the Titans, who are now in the hunt for the playoff. You go down to the wire with a very talented Green Bay Packers team. You lose in a very convincing fashion to a Falcons team that has not been putting together a good season. You go toe-to-toe with the NFC South leader, the New Orleans Saints, and then you lose to the Redskins, who had just 2 wins on the season. That is inconsistency in its finest. Where are you seeing the inconsistency most on this team, and how do they correct it to finish this season off strong?
Well, the thing that you have to take a look at is the big guys, offensively and defensively.
No doubt.
The offensive line has been beat up. Let's just say it. They've been beat up all year.
D-line too.
Yeah, they've been beat up all year long. Playing makeshift fronts and people having to come in and out. Guys, rookies that's coming in playing for another rookie. You have to get that experience. Like you said, the offensive line, defensive line, like Kev said, you lose Dontari Poe, you lose Gerald McCoy for part of the day, you lose KK Short early in the year. Those are guys that you're 3 Pro Bowlers right there in the middle of that defense.
Yeah, and I think he's absolutely right. It's the big guys up front, and when those guys can't get consistent play, the rest of the team falters, and you don't see it all the time, but then there'll be big plays that happen because they missed a pass rush lane, or they didn't get their run fit in on the offensive side with the sacks and the pressures. Those manifest themselves in big ways that can cost you a game. And those guys up front, because of the injuries on both sides of the ball, and every team has to go through them, but some big ones for the Panthers, that's really led to, I think, a group that is a little bit unsure of itself. It's not very confident. I don't know if they think they're confident they can get something done when it's crunch time, and they absolutely have to. All you have to do is dial up some of these late rallies as they're trying to get in the end zone and get stalled short. So to me, the biggest fix is if you can improve the offensive line and defensive line play, however you do it. Find a way to manipulate some different things and run some different plays that they can get some productivity. And I think today what we missed is a little bit of the runs from DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel in terms of the rushing game to spread things out, get them thinking side to side more. Everything was just straight ahead, drop back passing. There wasn't a lot of different trick plays or any just one-off plays to keep them guessing. So, but I think O-line, D-line, Fine, that's a long answer, but that's where the problem
It's
is.
important.
We've got to fix it. We've got to fix it.
Definitely, and they will need to play with that confidence as they head into another division matchup this week, go down to Atlanta, a chance for some revenge, and listen, they'll keep fighting, keep pounding. That's never been more relevant than right now, and really in football, I mean, anything can happen. Case in point, the Iron Bowl yesterday, am I right?
Oh, you got to have it in
War
there.
Eagle, you knew I'd put it in there. Okay, that wraps it up for us here today in Bank of America Stadium. Thank you, everybody, for watching us every week. We will be back next week to break down more Panthers news for you, so be sure and join us here on Panthers Postgame Live presented by Lenovo. Everyone have a great week.